Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. We have Steve Delisle, former candidate for Nevada Assembly District number 13. But before we get to Mr. Delisle, I hope I pronounced his name right. Jim, you have any rants?
A little bit. And I'm going to switch up from politics for a second on this one. The weather. Steve, you and I missed our calling, man. We should have went in to be a meteorologist.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, just
it'd be so easy. It's hot today.
Yeah, right.
And it's over.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's a correct map. We got some monsoon weather moving in. Do they know what a monsoon is? I haven't seen no monsoon weather. So I'm kind of confused about this monsoon stuff they keep talking about. Like, look at Lake Mead. Look how fast it's drying up. Like, okay, well, where are the monsoons to fill that back up? So it's like, I just don't understand why these people keep talking about this.
Jim, their construction is everywhere, especially in the Northwest, because Las Vegas has nowhere else to build.
Right.
Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 5 is all filled up. The only place they got to build is Ward 6.
Yeah.
And they're building like crazy over there. And I went over there just to avoid people.
Right. Yeah.
Back in 03. And now they're all coming to me. Where am I supposed to go now? Creech Air Force Base?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much further out you can get. But, you know, I'm actually glad you brought that up. I'll switch from the weather, but I'll stay on water for a second. Because now, a lot of people say that Republicans are not conscientious about the environment and water. Like, we want to burn all the trees, and we've heard all that before, right? Well, one of the things that I started talking about when it comes to water conservation is urban sprawl. And so that's kind of piggybacks on what you were saying. So urban sprawl is about one of the worst things you could possibly do for the environment. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that builders shouldn't have the right to build if they have the money to. Okay, I'm not trying to take away from that. But let's use some common sense. So every time I talk about this to certain people, they always go, oh, well, wait a minute. But these new homes, they don't use as much water as the older homes do. I'm like, but they're still using more water, right? I mean, are we still not drawing more water? So why do we continue to do this? And why do we continue to keep pushing further and further out? Like, Steve, you're from New York. New York had it figured out. Like, here's the thing.
At least we get snow and rain.
Yeah, and build up, not out. If you build up, think about it. You have one major water source coming in, and it feeds that entire building all the way up. Now, if you spread all that out, and you keep spreading it out, now you need more pipeline, more distance, more evaporation, more power, and then these construction sites. What do you always see on these construction sites? Water trucks. What are the water trucks doing? They're spraying dirt so it doesn't turn into dust and pollute the air. Mm-hmm. So build up, not out, have some common sense.
Well, I'm on well, and they said I'm good for 100 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what everybody else is going to do if they're not on well, because I don't know where they're going to get water from. And nobody has told, you know what? We need to get somebody from Las Vegas Valley Water that's in charge, the president, CEO, whatever, on the show, and find out what's going on with this water, because this is absolutely driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I need to know. I need to know, why are we building so much and Lake Mead is going so far down?
Yeah.
I need to know, where is the plan for water?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe Stephen could tell us.
Yeah. No, I've heard heard a few things, but yeah, I'll actually work on that because I live right down the street from the water.
All right. Well, we'll get the CEO for Las Vegas.
Well, I don't know if I got that much pull. I'm not Steve Sanson. I'm Jim Jonas.
Get the CEO for Las Vegas Valley.
And well, because they keep telling me, okay, well, Lake Mead's good for the next 60 years. I'm not seeing it.
Jim, we got to always start at the top.
Right.
And then it's like selling a car. right? You really want $5,000 for the car, you sell it for $7,000, right?
Right.
And then when you get $5,500, you already made $500 more than what you really wanted,
Right.
and that person that's buying the car think they got a deal.
Right. True.
So,
Right.
all right. So let's get the CEO from Las Vegas Valley Water on the show, because I want to know about where we're getting this water from.
Okay. I'll work on that. Like I said, I don't have your pull, but I do know people in the water district, though.
You can do it, Jim.
Okay.
I have faith in you. I have faith in you, Jim. I have faith
Okay.
in you.
All right.
You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Delisle. So did I pronounce your name correctly?
Delisle.
Del-
Yeah, Delisle.
Is the
Silent S.
oh, it's Delisle.
It's French. Don't hold that against me. But
Tell us about yourself. I like French.
yeah,
French fries.
French are good.
After what was it, the 9/11?
Yeah,
because
freedom
of
fries.
freedom fries,
Yeah,
because
right.
the French didn't want to help us out.
There was a little boycott. I remember.
But you know what? But they did help us become a country. You know, and when to fight the Brits. So
Yeah, I guess we owe them for that.
we own for that.
So I'm Dr. Steve Delisle, local dentist. Been here since 2009. Moved up from Southern California. At that time, I just graduated from anesthesia residency at Loma Linda. Me and my wife were looking at a place to land, and we were considering California. We were considering Arizona, but really we came to Las Vegas because of the low tax environment at the time. The ability, even in 2009, in the midst of the Great Recession, the ability to open a business and, go out and kill it. And so we chose Las Vegas because of that, the opportunity and the low tax environment and the ability to just come and start from scratch and build up a business. So we moved here in 2009, started a business from scratch. I do anesthesia, like I said, so I'm trained to put dental patients to sleep for their dental care. So
This is the guy to know.
children who are very young with a lot of dental decay or special needs patients. So that was really my wheelhouse. In the first couple of years, I was treating all the patients down here at DRC, just down the road.
So you cross over into anesthesiologist?
Yeah. So
wow.
I am a dentist anesthesiologist.
Wow.
I
Is that common?
Not that common. There's a handful of us in the state. I think there's 3 in Southern Nevada and 1 up in Reno.
Okay.
So that's what I did. That was my training. And then I came to Las Vegas, started this business, and then I kind of morphed into children's dentistry. And so I opened a few children's dental offices. And then the business was good. We were helping kids on Medicaid. I started a clinic at Child Haven, so I was helping the foster kids, and had some satellite offices. And
What does that look like, the satellite office?
so it's, for example, I had a children's office out in Pahrump. I had a children's office out in Boulder City. I partnered with a pediatric dentist, and we had a few offices up in like Fallon, Fernley, Sparks.
Oh, wow.
Outside of Reno.
Yeah.
And so, statewide, we had created essentially a children's dental practice with 12 offices, helping a lot of kids, again, on Medicaid and in rural Nevada. And so at about...
What made you do that?
there just was the need. Like I said, I came not knowing that there was this need here. I just knew that Nevada was a place that...
They didn't brush their teeth.
Well, at the end of the day, that's it. Yeah, they didn't brush their teeth, and so they needed someone like me and my partner Ben Solar up in Reno to fill that void. And so
people don't understand, Stephen, and about how important it is to take care of your dental needs.
Yeah.
And one thing I have a problem with the VA because I haven't heard anybody pitch this. The VA, you have to be 100% service connected disabled to get dental care.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, wait a minute, because if you have a tooth decay, it could affect your brain, right? Mm-hmm. It could affect your heart.
Yep.
It could turn into a medical thing.
For sure.
And it could go into your bloodstream, the bacteria, right?
Yeah.
And screw you up medically. So why wouldn't the VA want to take care of veterans' dental needs so it won't get into a medical problem?
Something bigger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense. From my understanding, that's more of like federal level, the VA, but it makes sense. My wife, she used to work at the VA up in North Las Vegas when they opened.
Pecos? 215, the hospital?
Yeah, the hospital. She was a occupational therapist, so she helped start the OT program out there. And as I think many of us know, the VA is not run at peak efficiency, right? And so, again, these sounds like federal issues, but if someone asked me, I would say I would be a big proponent of the voucher system. It's like, hey, if you're a vet, here's a voucher, go wherever you want to go. Because some of the wait times at the VA, I heard, are just ridiculous, right? And that's not good. That's not good care to the people who served our country.
They're starting to get better with that, with their community care system that they have. Because I'm community cared out. I go to civilian doctors.
Yeah.
But the VA takes care of it.
Yeah.
But I have a major problem with them not recognizing that dental health is medical health.
Right.
And you need to take care of your teeth.
Yeah.
No matter what disability you have, whether it's 10, 50, 20, 30, the percentage. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm sorry. I just wanted to piggyback on that.
Agree with you there. Bottom line is, if the kids don't brush their teeth, they're going to get cavities, right? And then a lot of times someone like me has to come in and put them to sleep so we can get it all done in one visit.
Right.
So I was doing that for about 10 years. I started to see our state move more and more like California. I came in 2009, again, business friendly. I started from scratch. I borrowed money, or not even borrow money. My wife would make money. She'd give me the money.
You borrowed the money.
Borrowed the money from my wife.
She wants it back.
But we started to practice from scratch, and it grew. And then we started to see the state move in the direction of California, and that's why we left California. Okay, so then I started.
What part were you in?
So Loma Linda, it's Inland Empire, Riverside County. And so I started looking, I've always been politically minded, always watched politics on TV, and I was disappointed with a lot of our state elected representatives. And so I started thinking about, okay, maybe I should run for some kind of a state seat. But I didn't honestly have, I feel like, the foundation that I wanted to if I was going to run for office. So I actually left my practice for 2 years, went back to law school at Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles. And pretty much, for 2 years nonstop, it was kind of an accelerated program.
You have a law degree?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was an accelerated program for those kind of like working professional type people. Right. So I went back knowing that I didn't want to practice law. I wasn't going to get past the bar, but I wanted to get.
Why would you say that? You seem like
dentistry,
an intelligent guy.
Yeah, dentistry's been really good to me. It's it's kind of what I'm
You're comfortable.
rooted in. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what pays the bills,
right,
so to speak. So that was firm, that was established, but I wanted to learn essentially constitutional law. How do things work, right? I feel like a lot of our elected representatives sometimes, and I don't know it.
And judges.
Maybe judges too. They're kind of shooting for the hip. And so anyway, I wanted to do a deep dive. It was a sacrifice to both me and my wife, obviously financially, and to put our lives on hold. So I did that, came out of Southwestern Law School and ran for the state assembly.
What assembly?
It was assembly at that time, Assembly District 29 in Henderson.
Okay.
Since then, we moved up to Assembly District 13.
Why did you pick Henderson?
Henderson, we had moved out of state and sold our house. So at that point, we didn't really have a place to come back to. And Henderson, we had lived in Summerlin, and we just landed in Henderson.
Let me ask you, ran for 8029, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You were in the general,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Right? And you got what? What's your percentage?
I don't know the exact vote total, but I ran against Leslie Cohen and lost by basically a percentage point.
Yeah, it was 49, something like that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you run again this time?
After living there for 2 years, to be honest, Stephanie Street and Henderson's very congested. And so my wife was not happy. And so she
wanted to get the heck out of there.
She did. And so I have, my main office is in North Las Vegas. It's on Craig and essentially Martin Luther King Boulevard. And so we were looking at being closer to my main office.
Gotcha.
Very much kind of like the things you were saying, Centennial in the Northwest, there's more growth or more room up there. Yeah. And so it's just a really nice place to live. And so we had been talking shortly after I lost in 29 about relocating. And so 29 made sense. Or I'm sorry, AB 13 made sense being up somewhere in the Northwest. Yeah.
So you have a home in the Northwest now?
Yeah.
In 13?
Yep.
Okay.
So then I ran for Assembly District 13. And
Tell us about that.
It was a primary between four Republicans. Me, Vem Miller, Brian Hibbets, and
I wish I knew you earlier.
Yeah. I probably should have. That was one of my mistakes. We should.
Wish I knew you earlier.
Yeah, but there was a primary between four people. I forgot the last lady's name, and it was an open seat because Tom Roberts, who was the assemblyman, had run for county sheriff. So it was an open seat, and we were up there before Tom had even announced.
I ran for that seat twice. Once against Paul Anderson.
Okay.
It was a favor to a friend. And the second time against Tom Roberts.
Yeah. So I saw that it was open, and I said, "Well, let me give it another go." The reason I ran is because coming out of law school and not wanting to practice law, but having some kind of a foundation in constitutional law, this idea of fundamental rights is very important to me. The Supreme Court calls fundamental rights those rights that are like. Basically the Bill of Rights 1 through 8, so speech, freedom, free exercise of religion, the right to keep and bear arms, all the way to some rights found through the 14th Amendment, due process clause, which has to do with like parental rights, all right? And so
how do you feel about family court?
I don't know a lot about family court, but after talking with one of the opponents, he basically said that a lot of my parental rights concerns are some of the concerns in family court. And yes. I don't know a lot of the specifics about family court. I actually don't have children of my own. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer 3 or 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear
no, it's all good. I'm healthy now, thankful, but we don't have kids because of that. So I don't know a lot about the family court. But what I do know about is the ability of a parent to raise their children according to their own beliefs without undue state interference.
Right.
And what I see from the state and local level, and really the Democrat Party, is they want to subvert and supersede the parental authority, right? And they believe that the children belong to the state, and they want to indoctrinate children according to their beliefs. And that really concerns me. And I'll fight all day long.
Should be a concern to everybody.
Yeah, it should be. And before I went to law school, I wasn't really aware of what the Supreme Court had said about parental rights and the absolute authority. Unless a parent is totally messing up, right, the state can come in and take the kid. And I've seen a lot of these kids at Child Haven. They've come through, right, when parents are drug addicted and they're abusing their children. But short of that, like, parents have the authority to teach the children according to their beliefs and raise their children according to their beliefs. And so that's just one of my platform issues.
So let me ask you this real quick. Going to law school and not planning to pass the bar. Okay. I understand that. There are several people that do that because they want to, like you said, understand the law more in depthly, but they don't necessarily want to be a trial attorney. Basically, is what you would need to be to, if you wanted to pass the bar, or be a judge. But so one of the things, like when you were answering Steve's questions, like how did your law degree apply to how you interpret the law? Because that's a big issue for me. Is like somebody can sit in a classroom or whatever and be taught the Constitution, but they don't. There's two ways to interpret it. It seems like to me, for whatever reason, I don't understand why people do that. But like, if you tend to lean more towards, the state should have more control, then you can twist the words of the law in order to fit that agenda, or vice versa. So how did you come to the conclusion after going through law school that the state didn't have the rights that they're trying to impose today?
So
if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Long-winded.
starting law school, I didn't understand what I was going to learn. But then when I went through the process, my eyes were kind of open in this sense. Going through the Supreme Court cases, you have to read all the Supreme Court cases, and they talk very consistency, logically, systematically about the Supreme Court thinking. There is a way that the Supreme Court thinks, and they're supposed to stay with precedent. So when it comes to some of these fundamental rights issues, the court talks about basically 3 different levels of scrutiny, right? And so they say if it's a fundamental right, the state has to meet something called strict scrutiny, which is a very, very high bar.
Right.
Okay, so otherwise it's unconstitutional. They'll strike it down. And so that's probably the most important thing I learned is how does the Supreme Court think, right? Now, they don't all think the same, obviously, like we just saw in the overturning of Roe v. Wade. They don't all think the same. But understanding how a law is either constitutional or unconstitutional in bounds or out of bounds, I think is very helpful to legislative candidates and people who legislate. If you go up to Carson City and you don't understand what is in bounds versus what out of bounds, you're going to pass laws that are either going to get struck down or aren't going to go as far enough as they need to. And so, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, actually, thanks for bringing that up, because now I'm starting to understand a little bit more of. So basically, law school then basically taught you how, because I've always found it interesting that, like, when I read these Supreme Court decisions and I read the majority opinion and then the minority opinion, sometimes I'm always kind of taken aback of how they came to write those opinions. So now explaining that, so now, like, they almost gave you in law school, like, how these judges come up with the philosophy behind the decision.
Yeah, let me give you a real quick, concrete example here in the state of Nevada. During the pandemic, so I just graduated law school, basically the pandemic hit, right? Governor Sisolak issued his mandates or his edicts or whatever, right? One of them was that he shut down churches or limited the size. I think even at one point, a church here in Las Vegas wanted to do a parking lot in your car. You stay in your car, you do a sermon, and even that was initially struck down. And I could tell just coming out of con law that that was unconstitutional. Now, nothing is unconstitutional until the courts say it is, right? So it has to go through the process. But having the understanding of how the Supreme Court thinks when it comes to a fundamental right, and the free exercise of religion and the ability to assemble is a fundamental right. What the state has to do is they have to meet this high level called strict scrutiny. Okay, and what that means is the state has to have a compelling interest, but they did in that case. There's a pandemic, but how they execute that law, it needs to be narrowly tailored and the least burdensome means used. So when you combine that language, and that's all Supreme Court language, compelling reason, check. Yep, the state has a compelling reason, but is the law narrowly tailored, and are they using the least burdensome means used? They weren't. Shutting down a church or not allowing people to stay confined in their cars is not narrowly tailored. It's not the least burdensome means used. And so the Supreme Court uses that language to protect our fundamental rights. Right. Yeah. The state just can't come in heavy-handed and just say, I'm shutting the churches down like he did. And I was later proved right because Sigal Chattah, who's running for Attorney General, she took Governor Sisolak to court in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and beat him on that specific issue. Calvary Chapel, Lone Mountain, they hired Sigal Chattah represented Calvary Chapel, Lone Mountain, and in the very liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, they struck that down. And so anyway, that's just an example of how it helps a candidate or an elected representative to kind of process these issues, to know what's in bounds and what's out of bounds. And what Governor Sisolak did, I knew from the get-go, was out of bounds. It was too heavy-handed. It was not narrowly tailored. It was, hey, I'm going to use my powers during an emergency to flex my muscles, and I'm going to do it against the church.
Okay, well, I'm just going to, just one more thing. but I'll get too long-winded on this because I really appreciate everything you just said. I think one of the things that I just want to say this to viewers and listeners and voters in general, and need to understand, like, everything you said was spot on, but those are specific things that you as voters, you have to like really dig to find this stuff, and you have to educate yourself at a very specific level. What you got to steer away from is, as voters, is this abundance of caution. And we see it in family court too, where like, and I've known Steve Delisle, Governor Delisle, not as long as Mr. Sanson, but I've known him quite a while. He's a really good politician. So I'm pretty sure Governor Delisle already knew that. But the politician in him, like, all he has to do is start throwing out abundance of caution, and then everybody's like, oh, okay, he's looking out for me. Whether it's legal or not, like, people want comfort. So they got to be careful of that. And with family court too, it's the same thing. Like, interest of the child. Like, okay, well, the interest of the child still has to be constitutional. And abundance of caution still has to be constitutional.
There was a Supreme Court case talking about parental rights and how far the state can go. And I just remember one of the lines that says, the Supreme Court justices wrote, you cannot get to a desirable ends by unconstitutional means. So the end result may be like, yeah, this is really good. We want to get here. But the process matters. The Constitution matters. You can't violate the Constitution to keep people safe from COVID. Sorry, you can't.
Unless you amend the Constitution.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
Man, I just drew a blank. So what are you going to do now?
I don't know. I'm going to come hang out on Veterans and Politics. I met Van Miller again. Me and him see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and I think, I think together we represented the more conservative vote in that district. And had one of us not won, I think there would have been enough votes for either him to win or me to win. Yeah. And so, I wish I would have met him. Maybe we would have talked about things ahead of time and done something different. But I don't know what I'm going to do. I do know I'm going to stay here and continue to treat kids on Medicaid, the disabled population, and somehow, some way advocate for fundamental rights, because there's nothing more dangerous I think we've seen in history than a government that oversteps its proper role.
I know, because we all want the same thing, is to better our state, Yeah. And the reason why we do what we do is to have people aware of what's going on, so they can make proper decisions, And because I'm not planning on moving anywhere. Are you planning on going somewhere?
No.
So we're here till death.
Yeah.
So we want to make the state the best we can make it while we're still here. And if we have any offsprings, Jim, we want to make sure that they in the place that's well protected by our Constitution. Yeah. And I really wish that we met months ago, maybe last year, and we could have had a conversation. And
like I said, that was probably my fault. I got focused
because we reached out to you.
Yeah, I got a little tunnel vision done my campaign and running my business and stuff, and I should have met you earlier.
Yeah, we could have had a game of basketball. How tall are you?
6'1".
Oh, I thought you were taller than that.
No, I'm about 6'1". Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you going to run for the assembly again? Are you going to do some state? Are you going to stay in politics? What's your story?
I don't know. Quite frankly, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to. I've seen over the last 4 years, kind of how dysfunctional, maybe disorganized, Clark County Republican politics can be, and I'd like to.
Yeah, you should have watched the show yesterday.
I'd like to see a little bit more organization and because if we're in the minority and then we among ourselves keep beating each other up, it's almost like we're in, even if we're not in the super minority, we're in the super minority because we don't stick together. So, you know, I don't know, but what I do believe and what I do, what I am passionate about is kind of like what you said, protecting our state, protecting what I came here for, which is greater opportunity.
You're not going to move out at 13, right?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I'm here. You know, I've been accused of being a carpetbagger, and
I know I accused you.
No, other people do too. And when you do a move like that, it's you're going to open yourself up to that. And that's fine. That's a fair criticism. And if I move to another assembly in 2 years, then it's 6. And it actually...
We told you!
Yeah. But I don't plan on moving because my wife really likes Centennial, and so do I. And it's a nice area. So if... I'm open to all things. We'll have to see what happens.
Well, let's keep the communication open.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a CCRP meeting on Tuesday that you probably want to attend. You know, and because I haven't seen him in it. Have you seen him?
No.
Well, when's the last time I attended one?
Oh yeah, I shouldn't be asking him. But and he looks real close.
Yeah.
To where they have the meetings. Well, they moved it from Ahern to Stonies now, so so it's a little
it's a
drive
little
for you.
further. Yeah.
But there's a CCRP meeting on Tuesday. Maybe you should look into that and pop in there. And
yeah, like I said, after the primary, I took a little. I just turned everything off, and
you can't. You can't. I mean, you could take a little break.
I'm back though.
Don't turn it off because I mean, life is going to leave you by if you do that. You know, you gotta stay on top of things. I mean, before you know it, 2024 will be right around the corner. I mean, campaign season is going to start in 23 for that. I mean, some people are already campaigning now for 24.
Yeah.
So
what I would like to see is I'm a big fan of Governor DeSantis. I would like to see Republicans in Clark County and in Nevada in general not only do the right vote, because a lot of people who will make the right vote, and you'll look at the record, but also be more of a vocal voice and a champion of fundamental rights, pushing back, saying, hey, speech is being infringed upon in certain cases. This is an important issue. Parental rights are being infringed upon. This is an important issue. Republicans got school choice down, right? They're almost all uniformly on board with school choice and all what that means. But there's other issues, gun rights, where it's nice to make the right vote, but come out and be more vocal. Yes. And what I've said, my criticism. The very little criticism that I have, is that the people who tend to be in the reddest districts, the safest Republican districts, are as quiet as church mice. And those people should be lions on the front line, saying, "Hey, I'm in a safe district, and I'm going to champion this, and I'm going to be vocal on this." And I don't know Annie Black very well, but from what I could see when she represented her state assembly district, she did that. And
and speaking of Annie Black, I wish she would have just stayed in that assembly district because she beat out Chris Edwards, who couldn't stand. But I wish she would have.
You guys were best friends.
I wish she would have stayed at that assembly district and run again, and then build up her resume instead of going right for the Congress against Sam Peters, who is a conservative. Yeah. And I that's just my thinking. Some people would disagree with it, but we live in this country. And I also want to know, nobody has ever told me why they build family courtrooms without a jury box, and I still haven't had an answer to that question either. My water question is not answered, and why they build family court rooms without jury box is not answered.
Well, I knocked a lot of doors this cycle, and when I was getting back from the people when I knock on the door and say, "Hey, what's a concern to you?" is the water issue. Yeah. They would say, "We're running out of water. Why are we building so fast?" And you need to, they were saying to me, if I get elected, you need to keep in mind our quality of life here.
And you know what? You can still do that as a private citizen.
Yeah.
You can still make, both of us are private citizens, and we make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So, and we get a lot of results done too, making those noise, and you can still do that as a private citizen. Yeah. So I just hope that you stay involved.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Help me.
If
you know something,
Because when we met with them at that Dunkin' Donuts, and no, I didn't have any donuts. I had a good feel for you,
Thanks.
And I just, you seem like somebody that needs to be in politics. And you seem like you're the type of person that's in there for the right reasons. You know, there's a lot of opportunists out there that's only looking for them and not looking for the people that voted them in office.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, there are people, and everyone will say probably at face value that they're in it for the right reasons. There are definitely people that are in it for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. And, you know, I grew up very blue collar, middle class, and I essentially want to represent people like my parents. My dad was essentially a janitor, and my mom worked at Nordstrom's. They have conservative values. They want to raise their 4 children according to their beliefs. And that's who I'm representing. And I think there's still a lot of those people out there, up in our neck of the woods especially, and they should have a voice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple of unique things, just real quick. There's a couple of unique things. But like you said, you were open to suggestions, and I agree with Steve 100% that you should stay involved. Number one, what you just said about like understanding how the Supreme Court comes to these decisions, and you'll find that that if you can figure out a way to be able to tailor that to where people can understand that. There's a lot of people, specifically on the Republican side, that think they know, but are not as clear as some of the statements they state. And then most Democrats, and I'm not trying to be too partisan on this one, but most Democrats are pretty way off base on some of this stuff with the constitutional stuff. So you understanding that is something that you can do, staying involved just from a straight educational standpoint. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, we have an education problem in this country when it comes to people really, truly understanding their rights and how the courts work. And then, on top of that, being a dentist, and Steve hit the nail on the head, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to, like, just look at insurance premiums. Like, how expensive dental care is compared to, I mean, like just general medical care is expensive anyway. But soon as you start talking about dental costs are through the roof. So if there's something that you could do because you're uniquely understand that realm of it, right? To maybe help with insurance companies and figure out like, how we can get dental care more affordable. Yeah. Because it is a part of it's the first step of the digestive process. Right. And it does cause mental health issues. And there's a lot of things that go bad really quick. I know I have I brush and everything else, but I have very poor dental care.
Maybe you could help one of the federal candidates and push an agenda, you know, to get the VA on board in recognizing that dental care is medical care as well, and see if they could, you know, instead of saying no, throw their hands up in the air saying, you know, you only got to be 100% service connected to get dental care. Yeah. Maybe you could push and say, you know what, maybe we should start at 50% to get dental care, and you could advocate for that through one of the federal candidates running for Congress or U.S. Senate, or even any of the candidates that's going to be running for the presidential race, and maybe you could advocate for that. And I think that'd probably be a good position for you. The vets would love you, that's for sure.
Well, that's a good idea.
And you're a dentist, and you went through law school.
Healthcare was. You know, it's kind of my wheelhouse, and it's, you know, because I went through dental school, anesthesia residency, I was a patient going through cancer treatment, surgery and chemotherapy when I had PPO insurance. And so there's a whole lot of unique perspectives that I have that I think I can make
bring
better.
To the table.
Yeah, bring to the table.
Yeah. And I would love to see you do something like that. I think that'll be a good approach for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
good deal.
Do you have anything else for Mr. Delisle?
Delisle. Yeah.
No? Well, Stephen, look into the camera, and Mark is going to zoom in on you, and you can make any kind of final words you want, and if you want to give a point of contact, you could also do that as well.
Okay. Thanks for having me here today, Veterans in Politics. I'm Dr. Steve Delisle. If you want to reach me, I still have my campaign website up. It's steven@stevenfornevada.com. Local dentist, patriot, and I'm concerned about our fundamental rights. So if I can help protect and preserve our fundamental rights in the state of Nevada in any way, I'm glad to do so. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Delisle.
Yep.
He's a real doctor. No, folks, this is Jim Jonas and Steve Sampson with Veterans in Politics. That was Dr. Stephen Delisle. He's a former candidate for Nevada Assembly, District Number 13. And we hope that this gentleman stays in politics. He has lots of good to offer our state and our community. And until next time.